And Jerrica. So today we're going to do Leah's absolute favorite thing to do on the planet Earth.
Rant.
Sometimes I think you just read books in order to be able to rant about something that displeases you. And it gives you like energy to go throughout the day knowing that there's something worse than what's coming up next.
This is true. This is true. It's fully true. And we've been reading, as you may have noticed if you listen to our pod regularly, a whole bunch of romance novels lately, and it's mostly your fault.
It's totally my fault because my favorite genre is fantasy, romance fantasy too. There has to always be something in there that has a little section scene, peekaboo would be nice. But I like complex, creative stories that have something in it that I've never heard before. Mm-hmm. But then I had a baby, a third baby at that, and I'm breastfeeding her, and it has made my brain literal mush.
The milk goes out but the brain goes out with the milk.
Yeah, totally. My brain is going out with the milk.
You're feeding her your smart.
My sentences are not finished anymore. The things that I think that I should remember, like on cue, are not even close to my tongue. It has been a frustrating few months, which is why we have switched to some romance books, which has very simple concepts, very predictable plots, enjoyable.
They all end in happy endings.
They've all ended in... No, Jonah died.
Yeah, but they were happy and not before then.
Yeah, but he died.
This is true. But there was no other woman or man.
No, but he died, Liam. That was not a happy ending. There was the most devastating ending.
It was very, very sad. Okay, fine.
But most of it ends up in happy endings. And that's because it's pretty much all my brain could comprehend this year so far. But we are moving out of the cloudiness.
I need a break. I do. This is about as much romance as I can take. And I mean, I've hung in here longer than I thought I would.
It's been 4 months.
It's been a long time.
Or at least 3 months.
So, we are gonna give some other books a go, and we're also coming into summer, so you know what that means. Summer specials, summer specials, summer. We're gonna have to think up new jingles. For
we
every
have
single
been
episode
historically very good at jingles.
Yeah, they have not all sounded very similar and boring, for sure. But today, since we have studied romance novels extensively by just simply reading them and then talking about them here, we figured this makes us experts.
We're full-on romance experts at this point.
When you're an expert, you should tell other people about your expertise.
And you should tell them what not to do.
Yeah. So, romance novels, apart from Jonah dying, tend to have happy endings.
Yes.
And they also tend to follow very, very predictable patterns. And be full of tropes.
Be full of tropes. Especially if you're following an author's works. She will, or he will, have then followed their own pattern of what's going to be in their novels. For example, our recent one where we read Helen Huang's Kiss Quotient, all 3 of the series have predictable plots and also predictable characters. So the characters also follow a certain theme there as well.
Yes.
So it's not just the romantic genre, it is specific to authors as well. They'll pick something that they know, most likely from their personal experience, and then write that in the characters moving forward in all of their books.
Yeah. And we can say also that romance novels tend to have a kind of formula to them. It's some kind of meet cute, followed by interest. And sometimes they get together kind of right away. Sometimes it's more of a slow burn where we wait for them to get together. But regardless, once they're together, there will be some kind of conflict that will separate them and then force them to overcome to have their happy ending.
Right.
And this can happen early on. It can happen in slow burn romance novels. It can happen towards the end that the conflict comes like a fucking... We're just waiting for these 2 people to get together for freaking 10, 12 hours. And now you're going to separate them for this preventable shit, usually stupid conflict. And just have them come back together for sex in the end.
Yeah, there's always a sex scene in the end. and not the best one.
No. And then there tends to, if you're an extra super bad romance novel, in my opinion, you will also have an epilogue that will be 10 years later.
Oh, 10 years.
Or, a few years later. Whatever.
Okay.
There will be some kind of epilogue that will jump you into the future. The only epilogue I approve of lately is the one with Theo and Casey in All In.
Yeah.
Emma Scott one, because it showed that they had overcome and they were... Because there was the conflict there was a conflict, but it was also she had a miscarriage, like she almost died with this ectopic pregnancy, which was like devastating, and it just, without us having to read through them trying again and having a baby, it just showed us that, look, it worked out.
Okay.
Don't fear, don't fret. But in the last book we read, the hook, line, and sinker piece of shit, that epilogue jumps 10 years in the future, also to show them with a family and to show her in an encounter while wearing high heels with a moose.
Oh.
And also to say that now they're only spending Christmas with her sister and his and then her sister's family, not with her parents, not with anyone else. So... yeah, that's what that showed.
Okay, so you are disapproving of epilogues.
I approve of epilogues if they show something worthwhile, like in Theo and Casey's story, where there had been another loss in the form of the miscarriage of their baby, to show that it worked out, There was a happy ending for them. Like, they had babies. They're remembering Jonah. It works.
I like that epilogue a lot too, and I like my stories fully finished, which is why I still can't let go of normal people, because I don't know what's happened to them. And you're like, but that's what it's meant for, and I'm like, I can't handle it. I need to know. But there will never be a second book or a second season of normal people, because that's just simply how it ends. And
because Sally Rooney writes about actual real life things. Yes. Because a lot of these romance novels we read are full of tropes that, like the horrible one that you showed me the page of, like the mother of three widower with the billionaire who loved her C-section scar and her round flat boobs and her round belly. Yeah. You see, like, most of them are just not true to reality in any shape or form. But Sally Rooney writes about actual things that are like more true to real life, because a lot of the stories, they might get together in the future. We don't know. They might not. Right. But it's their story, but it's also their individual stories.
Right. And recently, I just mentioned her earlier, this Helen Hoang book. She has epilogue on the second book, and probably the third one also, but I don't remember so much. But the epilogue of the second book doesn't show them happy, getting together, having babies and stuff. But it shows that the female main character graduates from university and finds accomplishment in her life. And he is still a part of her life, but they're not married. And this is like, I think 10 years, maybe 5 years down the line. It doesn't matter. No, it was 5 years later. And so that was an epilogue that I was kind of like, was it necessary to know that she graduated from university? Like, I appreciate that was what it focused on, that it was her personal accomplishment and not relationship accomplishment, because that's not what all romance is about. Like, it's not fucking sunshine and butterflies all the time, right? And especially as a woman who is coming from another country trying to make a life for herself and for her child, the more important part of that book was that she accomplished that. She got her degree and she is making a life for her and her daughter. Not, oh, I made the handsome rich guy fall in love with me.
Yeah. And I mean, most of these epilogues, when they are there, just show that this couple, because most romance novels will end when we have resolution, so that the main girl and the main boy are together. Yeah. And then the end, curtains down, we are now... It's kind of like Disney movies, happily ever after, Right. And the epilogues just show that the relationship continues in most cases. But we already know that because unless the epilogue is going to show something other than that, it's unnecessary because we already know that it's going to be fine. Or there will be a book 2 where they break up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I haven't read that yet. None of the ones that we've read so far, other than, of course, the Full Tilt where she ends up with the brother, but that's because Jonah dies.
Yeah.
I'm never going to get over it. It's still so fresh. I just lost him yesterday. But, so, talking more about tropes of these romance books that we've read, a really big common theme is this grumpy guy, sunshine girl.
Yep.
And that's, of course, whether he's wealthy, famous, or not, he is somehow grumpy in his life from something happening in the past that he can't get over.
And it's also the grumpy guy tends to go with the quiet, not very verbal people as well. Like these guys, they're grumpy and quiet most of the time. Like
yeah. And they're not communicative.
No.
So they get this happy, bubbly girl come into their life who like disturbs their peace kind of thing. Yeah. And I quite like that trope because I like to see like how women have the ability to break down walls of men who are emotionally struggling. And that's a big part of like the difference in our genders, not all genders, of course, but that females tend to be more open about their emotions, more open about like consideration of things and perspective of things. I
think this is societal, and like women are more encouraged to be open about their.
Okay, sure.
And I mean, if you're talking about mental health, it is more okay for a woman to struggle with mental health than it is for a man, and this is just societal structure and biases. You know, I think. I mean, even looking back in the days, like women would just take to bed with consumption, like
sure,
or you know, like crazy women would be sentimental, whatever, they would be sent away, and it was there, like it's always women have, not in a positive way. Back in the days, it was like the feeble mind, you know, and the weakened bodies, whatever. But it was never okay for men to struggle in the way that it was kind of okay for women to struggle.
We were recently at the doctor's office with my husband because he has like these spots on his back that he has to get removed, and he had them again, so he has to get them removed. And the doctor was like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "Oh, my wife brings me here." And I was kind of like, why is it me? And then the doctor agreed with him and said, yeah, it's usually women are more apt or more accepting of the fact that there's a possibility of sickness. So women catch things earlier because they'll go into the doctors first and oftentimes bring the men in that might need it. So thanks to women. And I was like, okay.
It was like this Mother of Invention book that we were supposed to read for the book club, which talks about how real men die every day from just things that real men don't do. A real man don't go to the doctor. A real man doesn't, you know, ask for help. And a real man, like, it is all of these gender biases that we put on, like, that we actually put on people, that means that we are risking people's life daily just by saying that real men don't ask for help and don't go to the doctor and don't struggle, like, don't talk about their mental health issues. Like, if you look at it, like, and this is I mean, I'm talking out of my ass here, I have no idea, but a lot of shooters, if you look at all the shootings in the United States, it's not women that are doing it. It's mostly men. Like, statistically, it's mostly men that go and do this, and these are men that are clearly struggling with mental health issues. Because, I mean, you don't go and do that unless you're really struggling, right?
Right. And a lot of suicides for men is mostly by gun as well.
Yeah. And I think suicide is more common in men as well. I think it's one of those things because it is more acceptable for women to seek help. And I mean, this is tragic, and totally. Like, actual real people are dying all the time from just not asking for help and from not going to see a doctor when I have a love for Dr. Pimple Popper.
Oh, gross. No, super gross. I can't even talk about it. I will puke. I am not one of those people that, like, I can't see it. I can't think about it.
I find it to be disgusting. But I love watching this show. And a lot of these guys that come there, it's like, I have this lump, somewhere. How long have you had it? And they're like, 15 years. And I'm like, if there's a fucking lump that grew like off the side of my neck or, on my legs or, that looks like a third arm coming out of my shoulder, like, I would not be like, it's been 10 years, let's wait another 5. I'd be like, time to go and get this fixed, And I mean, it is, I think, a societal thing that it is more acceptable for women to ask for help and to look after their mental health in a way that is just not for men, because a manly man don't need help. And it's the same as in that book that I was talking about, how we only got wheels on suitcases when women started traveling alone, because a real man carries his and his family's bag. Like, what if you then have some issues with your body, your back, your knees, whatever? You still have to do it because a real man does this. And the same with cars. Electrical cars were more prevalent than cars run on gasoline when they were first introduced cars on the market. But the electrical car was less noisy, didn't smell bad, and had roofs and could be started from inside of the car, which were all seen as women's stuff. Because men like no roof, uncomfortable seat, having to get out to freaking, use the little whining thing.
I'm a man, I need a harder life.
And then, these things, if you didn't do it right, it would smack up and literally take your jaw off.
Why don't we have men having periods and kids then? If they want to have all the hard stuff, if they want to, bleed.
That if men were giving birth, like we're talking about America, if men were giving birth, you could fucking get an abortion anytime, anywhere, any fucking where.
So fucked up that this is even a topic that's up in for discussion in the year that we're in right now. I can't really comprehend it, and we'll leave it at that because this is not a political podcast.
No, for sure. But I mean, if men had to deal with these things, like period pains would be a thing of the past. Like there'll be medication for that. This is all of these female issues that it's just no cure and no one talks about it because it's not affecting men. It's whatever. Okay, I'm gonna drop it at that. But
that is why we have Grumpy versus Sunshine, because it is the happy version of a woman helping a man with mental health issues, basically.
Yes, for sure. Other common tropes are like the books we read lately, supposedly, allegedly was Friends to Lovers, the hook, line, and sinker, which was not a Friends to Lovers.
But I don't like that trope. It never really gets me at all. Like, I never really fully believe in the relationship. Oh, except for Love and Other Words. Mm-hmm. But they were young friends. They were young. They were 11, 12-year-old friends, and then they started to become lovers when they're 17.
I can see the Friends to Lovers trope if it's a young adult book, where you're friends from a young age, and then as you're starting to notice the opposite sex, or the same sex if you're rolling in that direction, it doesn't really matter. But when you start to notice people in a romantic way, and you see your best friend, and you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hey girl, hey boy.
Did you get, what are those? Are those muscles?
Yeah.
Are those,
did you do
are those
something?
lines towards what is under there?
Yeah. Then I can fully get behind the Friends to Lovers.
Yeah.
When it comes around to first love, and even then going having the conflict of one of them having dated other people and you thinking that it's never going to happen because you have a crush. I can still get behind it when you're teenagers, because teenagers are idiots, and yes, they would want to get a little bit of experience, or not screw it up with their absolute best friend right from the get-go. I can see that.
Sure.
These things all work. But when you're in your 30s and you've been best friends since you were 20 and he has never looked at you that way, or even younger, and now
or you haven't looked at him that way.
Oh yeah, now you're like, oh, hey friend.
Yeah.
Then that I don't really like that one either.
No, it's honestly. You experimented with every possible other person, and then you're like, you know what, this might be just the easiest. We've known each other, and our families like each other. Let's just do this thing. To me, that's not it's not romantic, actually. Yeah. So I don't love that trope. The grumpy sunshine girl, I like the trope. There's things to overcome there. The best friends to lovers trope, it's not my favorite.
That's not mine either.
What about the
secret billionaire?
So I was just gonna say the secret rich
person, guy. Royalty, famous, or filthy rich.
Do you know what? I always had like this like dreams, like actually when I sleep dreams, not like life dreams, of meeting a famous person and them being like, oh, but you're not intimidated by my fame. And I'd be like, no, because we're just real regular people.
Love starstruck. You're gonna love
We're just real regular people. And then they're gonna be like, yeah, we are real regular people. Are you treating me like a regular person? I'm in love with you. And I'd be like, I know, because I'm so awesome. And that's...
Yeah. But I think a lot of these, I read the Red, White, and Royal Blue, which was...
We read it for our pod.
No, we didn't.
No,
I read it. I don't know if you read it. Have you read it?
No.
It's about when the son of the president falls in love with Prince Harry, I believe it is.
Okay,
or whatever. And it is so stupid because son of presidents don't go to state functions like in other countries like that, especially not when they're grown-up sons.
Okay.
Of presidents. Regardless. But I like the rock star ones, but not... And this, what you just said, you treat me like everyone else. Or you don't know who I am. Like, I read this story a while back that was so bad.
Yeah.
Where it has one of the absolute craziest beginning of a book that I've ever read. Which is basically this woman, she wakes up and finds out that she's married. She's after a night in Vegas, and she wakes up with one of like the most famous rock stars in the world, and they just had a night together and got married, and she remembers none of it.
Oh shit!
Yeah, which was hilariously funny, but there was so much in this. Like, he was a forever bachelor, and then this one girl, because she didn't treat him like everyone else, he just decides on the night, as she's drunk as a fucking skunk, to marry her, and then gets upset when she doesn't remember. And then this whole book is just them.
I read a book like that recently too. No, I don't love that. And I don't really believe in the like, well, I don't know who you are, super famous person, because I don't read magazines, or I don't watch TV, or like I don't listen to music.
It worked for the book we read, the Serena Bowen book, the where with the baby, the Kira and
but he wasn't
John,
famous yet.
He was famous.
But he was like going under a different name. You know what? I'm not so sure. Like I would recognize if a like famous musician came into like our town of Västerås, like grew a beard and called himself like Joe Sundsvall or whatever, then I wouldn't know who he was.
I am the worst at recognizing people. I am sure I met so many celebrities and I recognize none of them.
No, but I
worked for a bit in a snow store as like winter sports.
How many jobs have you had?
Many. But when I lived in London, I worked for a little bit on one of this outdoor sports store on Kensington High Street, and we had like celebrities come in there all the time because like a lot of celebrities in London do their shopping on Kensington High Street. Okay. And it was like anytime they wanted, like I fitted John Oliver. No, was it not John Oliver? The cook Oliver.
Jamie Oliver.
Him and his wife. I fitted ski boots on them.
I love him.
And also some like Olympic medalists. I fit in with ski boots. Like everyone was like freaking out, and I'm like, I don't know what you guys are. And then afterwards, they're like, this guy is like, I'm like, didn't know.
But it's because your interest is not there. Like if I were to see Jamie Oliver, I would have been like, what?
But like the Olympic medalist, I was like,
yeah, no, true. So the Serena Bowen one, but that girl didn't listen to that kind of music, and it wasn't only until she randomly saw like cover of it, and she's like, "Oh yeah."
But you know, I could probably like full on proper run into like a bunch of the members of One Direction and not recognize them. Like if it's not the main guy, Harry Styles, like I would not know who they were.
Okay, maybe.
Like at all. Like I don't know. And they are, you know, very famous people. There's a lot of these people that, maybe the one that's with the model, Gigi.
Who's with Gigi Hadid?
Yeah, Sane. They have a baby together.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, whatever. Him, maybe, but he probably have to stand right next to her, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, you are famous because I recognize her.
Those people are really attractive. They must be famous.
Exactly. But no, I mean, I'm terrible. I would recognize no one. And I mean, we had like supermodels and stuff coming into the shop all the time, like the old ones, Elle McPherson and stuff was in shopping. And,
oh, huh.
Yeah. And then everyone would freak out. Like I was downstairs with the ski boots and the snowboard stuff, and then everyone would be like, someone would come downstairs, go like, "There's a model in the store," and then all the staff would be like,
okay, so you believe in this trope, the like secret billionaire, secret.
I believe in it to a certain extent. Like I believe in that you can meet someone. Like let's say you're out at a bar and you get to talking to someone, and then you hit it off and you might not recognize them because there's a shit ton of people I would not recognize. But then as soon as you'd see their house, you'd be like, believes you have a little bit of money here with this neighborhood you live in.
And then the likelihood of you treating them differently is high.
Probably, yeah. But
because then you'd be like, oh, fuck, you're that fucking guy from that TV show or whatever. And then you'd be like, oh, I don't know if I really want to date an actor. You know, like...
For sure. Seriously, you have to watch Starstruck. I kid you not. It's your homework.
Okay, so next trope. Let's do the Dom one, because this is something that happens a lot in romances. Not all the poppy romances, but maybe a little bit more darker romances with a little extra smut in there. But there's a shit ton of it where the girl doesn't realize that she's a submissive until she meets the guy who is... her protector
50 Shades of Grey.
Tells her what to do. And not only in the bedroom, sometimes a lot of like this demanding stuff in life outside of the bedroom.
Have you read 50 Shades of Grey? I mean, it's
only the first book.
But there, it's funny in that one when he's like presents her with a contract and she just signs it.
Yeah.
And then like, are you okay with these things? Like, never tried it.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone were to present me with a contract, I'd be like, yeah, something's weird here. I'm gonna go now. Bye. Not that hot, not that rich, not that interested. Bye.
But he was hot and rich.
Yeah, but not hot enough for me to sign a fucking contract saying what should I agree to.
I find it icky that it's like with all of the women. Like, I like the trope where you're like the only girl that he will do this for or whatever. Yeah. But that's not in this Dom sub one. No. The Dom sub one is quite popular. And I think it's because it takes women completely out of reality.
Yeah.
For sure. There's not a lot of women in these types of relationships willingly.
Well, they might be, but we just don't know about it.
I mean, not a lot. Like, it's not... No. Like, I don't know more than one person that's into this.
I don't think I know anyone. If I know some, they haven't told me.
Oh, they're not open about it. Okay.
No.
I have one friend who's into it, and I love to hear all the things because I have no judgment towards any of these kinds of lifestyle choices, and I'm just curious to know how different we all are.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can be open with each other about it, too, so you don't have to all live in, like, some weird secret hiding space of life because... nothing should be judged anyways if it's consensual.
Yep. Do you know what my favorite trope is?
Tell me.
My favorite trope is probably stuck together. You know?
Physically stuck.
Yeah, but like we've been locked together. We're stuck in this room. There's only one bed. You know, like these things. But you know, do you remember when we read this, not for the pod, but when we first started reading books together, kind of thing, we read The Dance of Thieves.
Oh, forced proximity. Yes. Okay. They got tied
and they got like
handcuffed together.
Yes. And where you have to start, you have to communicate and you have to work together to make this work.
Yeah.
Some kind of stuck together or like forced together, something like that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Or like end up in the same like hotel room and have to share the bed, or
like
plane crash island thing.
Or you're
and
on this train and you're gonna have to sit right next to this person for this many hours. Like stuck together, one way or another. I love that. Cool. Forced proximity, yeah. And I think friends to lovers, I don't like that. Stuck together, yes. Enemies to lovers, I kind of do like that.
I love it. Love it.
And it's like you're only getting on each other's nerves because there's really chemistry there.
Yeah.
Forbidden love, which this can go into people being too young, but I think Romeo and Juliet is more the thing. Twilight. But I find them to be more problematic than anything else.
Yeah, no.
Second chance?
No.
Yeah, because if you gave up on someone, there's probably a reason
There's
for it.
a reason.
Yeah. Soulmates, hate it. Fucking hate it.
Love it.
Hate it.
Love it. Meet me every day of the week. I absolutely love this. Like, written in the stars, universe has made you guys together. You're the only ones for each other. Yeah. I'm like, swoon.
This goes into, I had this long conversation with my husband this weekend about time. If time, because he's like, time is a circle and everything has always already happened, and it's everything that has happened has already happened, everything that will happen has already happened, it's all happening at the same time, and this is how you can move in time. And I'm like, that is so dumb. Time is like a road, freaking, it's like, it's unraveling as you move forward, because anything else means that whatever choices I make doesn't matter. Because they've already been made. So I have no free will, there's no choice. And who the fuck decides? Who's this person that's like...
There's not a person.
But who
I think
decides?
we need to
We
need to let go of the, like, there's a person like a god, which is not a human or is a human or whatever, that's like controlling us, some sort of matrix style. Because in Einstein's theory of relativity, in which your husband is referring to, time is not a constant. This hasn't been 100% proven or anything like that, but let's consider it as a theory. If time is not a constant, it doesn't mean that time is in a circle.
No.
But like you're saying, time opens up rivers and lakes and whatever as the flow goes through. But that also doesn't mean that it can't cross over itself also. And my husband's theory of this is he doesn't believe in ghosts, because he thinks that whenever somebody has had this like feeling of somebody passing by, or they see a shadow, or they feel like an energy, that time has crossed itself. And in that moment, two timelines have crossed themselves, whether it's your own timelines or somebody else's with yours. And you're like, oh, that kind of looked like somebody I knew. It could be that the timelines have crossed and you saw your grandpa, or that you see yourself.
I can like the idea of timelines
a totally
crossing,
random person.
But I don't like the idea of it being predestined. And I don't like the idea of like the one true timeline.
But there isn't.
No, but this is what he's talking about, and we're talking about multiverses. And if you're going to do a multiverse, so every decision you make creates a separate timeline then. But then it has to be, and then this is where we got into a little bit of the, disagreeing part, because then he goes like, well, it's only big thing that creates a separate time. I'm like, who decides what's big? Like, if it's going to be that a decision creates different paths, then it has to be every decision. If I choose to sit down or if I choose to stay up. These are immediately two different paths. And this means that every decision every single person makes all the time would be trillions and trillions and trillions of new freaking separations here of, in
possible
the multiverse.
Timelines.
Yeah.
But it is. But why wouldn't it be?
No, but... And
you mean it's too complicated.
And he's saying that this would be like all the time.
Yeah.
And it would be like ever expanding. This would be... Because if we talked about like the multiverse of madness, the freaking Marvel movie that we went and watched, and where you can jump between these multiverses. And that is because a decision has created a different timeline.
Okay.
But if there's trillions of them being created all the time... First off, there would be a shit ton where you would be in.
Yeah.
But there would be so fucking many where you wouldn't be in, because any decision made before you would create. And then, like, there's so many decisions that have to be the same for your parents to meet and have babies, that would have to result in you. So this whole idea that you exist in multiple universes and you can jump between them and all of this and that. Yeah, for the ones that are in... The only timeline, I guess, where you were, all the decision came up to your birth. But there's like so many, so I don't know, like it becomes, for me, I don't like it because I don't like the idea of destiny, predetermined fate kind of thing, because it takes away free choice. And it's the same with soulmates for me. If there's one person that you're meant to be with, then any other choice you make is the wrong one. And therefore you don't really have a choice.
There's this theory that we have like soul groups and like people that we have like little like soul family that we sort of connect to in all of the lifetimes and all of the lifespans, maybe not in all of the multiverses or different timelines if they keep piecing off depending on decision. But I believe in that we are like in a cycle of life and death and life and death and life and death. So taking that into consideration, there is a possibility that you feel connected to another human being because you recognize them from another timeline.
Yeah.
Or another decision line, or whatever you want to call it. Therefore, there could be soulmate or multiple soulmates.
Yeah.
And you can choose to be without a soulmate. And that timeline, you're living with a person that you just choose to live with. It is not the wrong decision. It's just the decision you chose in that timeline.
Yep.
And then in another life, you could choose to be with your soulmate and have a different experience in life with that person. Because how boring would it be if we just kept living life with the exact same souls every single time? We wouldn't learn anything.
No. I don't like it. I mean, I believe in that it doesn't just end, that there's some kind of, moving forward. But I don't believe in the whole everything that's ever going to happen has already happened.
But it is constantly happening. It hasn't already happened. Where there's things that have already happened, but there are still new decisions being made.
Yeah. Yeah, we're philosophical here. It's getting deep. It is getting deep.
But
let's go back
soulmates,
into tropes.
But we're still in it. Soulmates and mates. I love it. And I also love all of the timeline talk as well.
With the last trope that I have on my list here is the fake relationship. And this one I kind of like.
Yeah, me too.
Done right.
Yeah.
Because it could be done wrong too. But done right, it's a really nice one. Because it allows you to try out a partner without committing in a way.
I don't like the marriage of convenience or fake marriage. That trope I don't like.
Not even when it's Rory and killed?
No, it didn't make any sense. Why would he have to marry her and pay her $500,000 just for 1 year of marriage, just so his mom stopped setting him up on dates? Like, that was not a real reason for me for marriage. Like, for a year. If it was like for a lifetime because I don't want to ever get married, I understand, but not for just 1 year. 1 year is so short amount of time. Weird reason. So I don't really believe in the like fake marriage trope, but the dating trope, fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It's fun. All right. So moving away, maybe potentially we'll probably find our way back to romance. I don't think we'll ever be done fully with romance.
Who can be? This is what life is about. Love.
Yeah, for sure. And now you have homework to do. Starstruck.
I have to watch Starstruck.
Demand you watch Starstruck. Look, all the deer have gone to sleep over there now. And we'll see if we'll come out with an episode this following week or if it will be a week break. We will let you know on social media. But until then, happy reading.
Happy summer.
Happy summer.
Bye.
We'd Rather Be Reading is an original podcast by Jerrica and Lia Sandfö. The music for The Penguins, written and performed by David Allred from the album The Transition, courtesy of Erase Tapes. Please check them out on Spotify and check us out on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram at We'd Rather Be Reading and on Twitter at We'd Rather Read. You can also email us at we'drathebereadingthepod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.